How you doing? You all right, Dave?
Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. What have you been up to this weekend?
Trying to stay warm. It's so cold.
Yeah,
I can't
we're
bear it.
we're at like -4 today, so that's nice.
Yeah, we had -6 yesterday. I went to obviously you were there competition on Saturday, didn't we? The EO
Yeah,
simulator.
yeah.
That was so cold. Oh, I couldn't bear it.
How did you do the Iconics yesterday?
No, one show a weekend is enough for me in the winter.
Yeah, I agree. It was good. It's good to get the works and the reps in, I suppose, though, innit? Even though it was absolutely freezing.
Yeah, and maybe I should have entered it, but I was quite happy at home with the heating on, spending on my
Yeah, in your big hoodie.
money.
Well, so it actually leads on to what we're talking about today with regards to basically pre-competition nerves and the feelings that you might get before competition, whether it be a big big event like a Crufts or an EOS, or even if it's just a local show. Generally, then, when we're talking about this kind of thing, do you get nervous, or is it dependent on the situation?
People ask me that question a lot, and then they're always quite surprised by my answer. I think because I've been doing agility so long, like nearly 30 years now, people assume that I'm not going to get nervous, but absolutely, I pretty much crap myself at the big events. It is terrifying. So obviously, at normal everyday shows, probably not so much, especially with a dog that I really trust. So dogs that are, I've got the skills with, so a bit older, more experienced. I tend to not get very nervous at normal shows. Maybe a champ final, a little bit fluttery, but nothing crazy. But yeah, the big events, Crufts, Olympia, World Champs, EOS, absolutely get incredibly nervous and stressy at those events.
Be honest, then. Have you ever let out a little bit of wee?
100% I have. I'm not even kidding. Sometimes I think I'm going to actually wet myself, but and maybe that's age. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Maybe
was
it's
going to
nothing
say you
to
need
do
some
with
of those
fear.
tenor pads for women.
I'm sure you can get men's ones as well. Maybe I should look into that.
Yeah, that's your next birthday present sorted.
Yeah,
41.
thanks.
So, like, you say that at the big events you still get nervous, which, to be honest, I think is probably a good thing. I think it's good to have some kind of feeling to help you kind of, I don't know, get mentally prepared as well as like physically, because that feeling kind of gets you in the zone, maybe. But do you feel that as you have become more experienced, that has been either something you can control and manage better, or that you just generally do get a little bit less nervous?
I think obviously with more, I think it's a hard one because every dog is different. I think with Fame at the end, I didn't get so nervous, but now I'm running Susan, I'm getting more nervous again because I don't know her so well. It's definitely got better with time, of course, and just experience. Yeah, I've seen so many different courses and so many different types of runs and stuff. I've done most maneuvers that you can possibly do. So obviously, I trust that I can do them. It's just with each dog is so different. So yes, the nerves have got better in some ways, but also worse in some ways because now, I'm so desperate to keep doing well. And it is a desperation. I don't want to be bad and old and has been. So I think the pressure's on actually more to do well now. Now, when I was younger, I thought, oh, I've always got another year, got another year. But now I'm 40 now, and I've not got a million years left. So I think the pressure's on to keep doing well. And there's so many other people teaching now, and the better I do, the more work I get, the more your profile is bigged up. So you do think the pressure's on to stay at the top as well, which is also definitely makes me more nervous because I obviously want to do well to keep my profile and stay at the top for as long as I can.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've always thought a lot of nerves come down then, maybe, in my opinion. I mean, it might be different for everyone else, but like how well prepared you are. So if you feel like you've done the preparation, then maybe a little bit less nervous because well, I couldn't have done too much more. I'm going to kind of give it what I've got, and then it is what it is, kind of thing. But I don't know. Do you feel like preparedness comes into it with regards to how nervous you get?
Yeah, definitely. If you know you've done your work beforehand, I've gone to World Champs where I've done literally nothing before apart from my normal stuff, and I've gone to World Champs where I've done tons of course running. And I wouldn't say for me, I don't think it makes a huge difference because the courses are always going to be different. Even if you see the little trends of the
Yeah.
judges, I still think when you get there, they're different because quite a lot of the judges, to be honest, set something different anyway because they got the big events. They're judging the big events, so they kind of make it different. So I do think for a lot of people, definitely being prepared will help their nerves. But especially for older dogs that you know better, for younger dogs, I think you still, however much preparation you do, you still go with a little bit like, well, do they know this? Do they know that? Like I still with Susan last year, I felt completely unprepared with Susan, and she did pretty well considering.
Yeah.
This year, if I qualify again, I will definitely feel more prepared, but then also more pressurized because I think we are a better team now. So I actually think we could do better. So it's everything's a little bit of up and down. Yes, less nervous because I feel like we're a better team. More nervous because I feel like there's more pressure now.
I think that like last year though, you went into it with Susan with no expectations either, did you? Because she was so young, and it was kind of, well, I'll give it a go because I know that she is talented, and kind of we'll like let the cards lay where they might. And yeah, you qualified, and I thought you did good there. And as anything, it's just experience for you moving forward. It's only going to serve you as a benefit, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she got double clear in the team, didn't she? Which is what
Yeah, it was amazing.
I cared about more than anything that year because I wanted her. She was a bit steadier then. I wanted just to get those clears in the teams.
Yeah.
And that's what we pulled out. But then we really went for it in the individuals, and unfortunately, obviously, didn't qualify because of just an up contact.
Yeah.
But she still did so good. But yeah, it was just no expectations. So I think I wasn't so nervous then because there were no expectations. So this year, if we go, I do think my nerves will definitely be a bit higher because I expect more. Maybe the management and my team members will also expect a bit more because we're more a better team now.
Yeah. Well, from when I've been to a couple of the big competitions and helped out, and I feel like there is quite a noticeable difference in a lot of people, which is expected, right? I'm not like trying to be like, I don't get it. Obviously, I understand. There's a lot more on it, but how much do you feel that pre-competition nerves can affect the dog? Because like for me, when a handler is acting so different, and we always talk about consistency with regards to like dog training and handling, and then it comes to an event that like obviously there is more on it, and the handler is like almost freaking out, that's going to have some kind of an effect on the dog, do you think?
Definitely. Like, I've read things about this, and that, dogs can smell changes in our personalities. They can smell when we're nervous. They can smell when we're happy. They can smell when we're excited. They can smell those changes in our body. Their sense of smell is so acute. So 100% nerves affect. I've had that before with Boss when I've gone in, and he can tell instantly if I'm a little bit more stressed. Susan can as well. She can instantly sense where I'm stressed, and some dogs wouldn't care about that at all. Like Fame just never cares. She actually thrived on it, I think. Whereas Susan definitely, if I'm a little bit nervous or a little bit anxious or a bit annoyed at something, maybe another dog has had a go at her, she can instantly sense that, and she definitely goes into not shut down, but she's more worried. Same as Boss was. They could 100% feel those nerves.
Sorry. I bet they can also kind of smell the pee in your pants as well.
Yeah, probably. I'm definitely getting those tenors, and I'm also going to start spraying up down there because trying to mask the pee scent.
How far out do you start getting nervous? Is it kind of like the day of, or like leading up to these competitions? You like
no, probably the day of.
Probably the
day of. Yeah, I'm not very. I think I just get excited on the lead up. I'm excited to see the courses. I think as soon as I see the course is when I start to get nervous because then you start questioning yourself. Can I do that? Can I do that? What if that goes wrong? What if that happens? That's when I personally start getting nervous. So definitely not before. Before is all just pure excitement. I don't pee myself with excitement. It's only nerves. So it's just pure excitement, and just nerves are definitely when I get to the arena, see the course, walk the course. That's when I start getting all that fluttery feeling.
Yeah. I think it is quite like a big part in the overall picture of how successful someone is going to be. Like, you could have someone who, and I'm sure we all know these people who in training, they are like almost foot perfect every single time. They've got the dog training skills, they've got the handling ability, but then when it comes to a competition, they can't seem to put it together. So in that side of things, then being able to manage your nerves, I think, is almost equally as important. Because if you can't do it in competition, then all the training and that is great, but ultimately that's what we're there for, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You see these people, I think they're going to go, they're just going to win. And there's no way they couldn't win. They just, every time I train them, they're going clear. And then they get there and they just cannot deal with their nerves. And I just, there's no answer to that, I suppose, apart from finding what works for you. Because I think whatever I do is going to be different to what other people do. And, it's definitely a big thing that people can't deal with the pressure when they get there. And I think that's, a big, if I was team manager, I'd be definitely looking at stuff like that if I was picking a team, because you can just know some people will not be able to cope with the pressure of the being on Team GB and stuff like that when they get there.
So you say what you do. Have you got like a routine, or have you got something that you do to help you settle in, kind of thing?
I think I have to be moving around a lot. I don't have a specific routine, but I have to be. I can't just sit and watch. I watch a few, walk around, watch a few, walk around. I can't just sit and watch hundreds of dogs before I go. I also get, you wouldn't believe it, but I get really chatty.
Yeah.
Like I just, I can't stop talking. I want banter. I want to laugh because laughter calms me down. Some people want to just go off, be by themselves. Some people want to just watch the course. Some people want to talk through the course. I want to just chat about it and laugh about it, and very much want to be having banter with people before I go in. That's how I personally deal with it, because that just calms me down.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I know the type of person that you are, because like we've spoken when I was trying to help you before runs, and like you like to just have a general chat to kind of take the weight off the situation almost, isn't it? And it's
exactly.
That's your way of managing it. But there are equally some people, like you say, they just need to be on their own. I can think of people who just go away and sit on their own with their dog and just kind of like think of the course. So I don't think there is like a one solution fits all. I think, like you say, it's about finding what works for you and kind of being consistent again, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I also have to go run for about 10 million wheeze. That actually calms me down. I think, go to the toilet, go to the toilet. So it's just a little bit of a breather time. Yeah. Don't think for anything else about going for a wee. But yeah, there's very much, I personally don't like to be with my dog because I don't want them to feel what I'm feeling. Yeah. Especially the ones that are a bit more sensitive. So I prefer to leave them until I actually need them. And then I can focus on them, warming them up, getting that prepped. But yeah, that's why I don't spend time with my dog. Apart from obviously take them out for toilets as well.
I think that is an interesting point, though. Like I said, the fact that, like, a lot of people think, oh, I've got to be with my dog. But like, as long as you've got a groom who your dog is happy to, trust to be with, and you trust them to do a warm up, then I think it's a valid point that, like, you've got things that you need to be doing. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to be with your dog leading up to the event straight away, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's super important. Like at the EOs last year, I know Susan was finding it all quite stressful. Yeah. And because she was finding it stressful, I was finding it stressful. Yeah. So I asked Shannon to come down and just sit with her while we were queuing up to have for our go, while I was watching the teams before us, and especially in the team event. So I said, Shannon, can you just have her? Because then it will take all the pressure off, because Shannon's obviously not going to be nervous with holding Susan. Yeah. And I just went off, did my thing, came back, said hello to her a couple of times, walked off, and it definitely helped once I did that, because she was not feeling my stress. And I much prefer that, having a good groom that you can really trust, that they're totally safe with, they're going to do the right thing. You can go off and be stressy and do whatever you need to be, and then when you get there, I'm quite good at, once I actually get there to go to the ring, I can just block it off and go, right, this is what I need to do now. That's, I think, something I'm quite good at. I've always been quite good at that. Once I get on the line, I just go, right, done, let's just go for it. I think some people get to the line and that's when they have their meltdown, which is obviously not a good time to be doing it.
Yeah, probably the worst time, but yeah.
I think so.
Of all the competitions, I mean, you've pretty much competed in all of the big ones, I would think. Which one do you feel most nervous in? Is it the AWCs or is it something else?
It's a toss up between AWC and EO. I think AWC is quite nice because you get 2 runs, so it's over 2, and you don't have to have the absolute most perfect run in both. EO final is quite stressful because it's obviously, the final is just 1 run, so you do have to be like, right, this has to be the most perfect run to win it. It has to be fast, you have to be perfect. Whereas over 2 runs, you can have a little bit of a wiggle and you could still possibly get a medal or win, because it's over the joint, there's 2 results. So I would say definitely those 2 are my biggest events that I get most nervous at. And obviously they've got the crowds, which are, everyone understands agility in that crowd. So you get, 1 step offline and they know you've had that step. Whereas you go to Crosston Olympia, people just love watching you run around. They don't really care. Yeah. There's very few people in the audience that really know what's happening. So it's more exciting because You get a lot of cheering and it's very fun. People are loving it. They love watching the dogs, but it's not as stressy as those big world champ events, because you really are on the world stage in front of all your peers
Yeah.
and all your friends, and it's nothing really like it. I mean, I'm obviously, I love it because I'm addicted to it. I want to go back every year, but it is nerve-wracking, definitely.
Um, I agree. Like I haven't competed at that world stage like that, but I think when you've got other people who know what they're watching, there is
Mm.
more on it kind of thing. Um, like you've medaled a few times at these competitions. Is there a particular time where you felt the pressure more than the other times maybe you've medaled? Is it a team run? Was it an
Um,
individual run?
I've actually, the teams I've been in have always been, apart from one year, I think I thought a bit stressy, but on the whole, the team, and we medalled, so it wasn't so bad. But the teams I've been in have all been very, the people are also lovely. We've all had a good banter. We always say, if you're the one that messes up, it's just what it is. It is what it is. So they don't put pressure. We don't put pressure on each other in the teams. Obviously, you're going to beat yourself up. If you're the one that's created that lack of medal, you're going to beat yourself up. You can't help it. It's horrible. But I know I actually I find the team event more fun and the individual more stressful, because I think I put more pressure on myself for the individual.
Yeah.
With team, I just go, right, just go for a nice clear. You don't have to go hell for leather crazy. Just get around the course. And so I actually like the team. And like I said, I've been in good teams where we've all been very friendly and chatty and good banter. I like the banter, don't I? So,
Yeah.
we have a good laugh on the lead up, and it does make me much calmer.
Any funny stories about maybe any other people you've seen at big shows or big
Um,
events?
Not sure about funny stories. And people have all sorts of weird routines on the start. Like people like praying on the start line. They pick up things off the floor and throw them over their shoulders. And people have got the weird. You got Leslie Odom picks her knickers out her ass every time. People do have the weirdest routines, and I think that is the stress routine. Before I had an Apple Watch, I always had to sort out my little buckle bit before I ran, and I obviously don't have to anymore. But everyone has their little routines. The funny stories. I mean, don't if you're ever around Martin, don't go near him because his breath will stink. So, we all have to have an emergency breath kit when we go to these events, because it gets bad. Like those nerves, they make your breath smell bad. So we have that's don't go near Martin, especially. I mean, his breath's bad most of the time, but it's pretty toxic when he gets to these events because he's nervous.
Poor Martin.
I know, poor Martin. We all pick on Martin.
Do you know who to avoid with regards to when they're getting ready? You're like, right, like avoid them because they're going to stress me out. And is there someone in particular that sticks in your mind? Or
I try not to go too near Nara or Dan, to be honest, because they like to be more on their own. So I don't want to go near them to stress them out either.
yeah,
Dan has very much a routine. He has to have everything perfect. Everything has to go right. He has to do that, then that, then that, then. He really doesn't even realize it's a routine, but everything has to be just right. If I'm grooming for him, it's a very stressful job because you have to be on it every single millisecond. Whereas I think I'm a bit more like, oh yeah, get the dog, and a bit more calm with that in that respect. So I try to avoid those two because I know that their stress may stress me out. Obviously, I can't avoid Dan completely. He's my partner, so
yeah.
I do have to go and go, are you okay? And you know what you're doing? And yes, I know. So we have to be a bit. Those two are definitely they definitely like to be a bit more on their own. I will spend time with Martin as long as I have a face mask on, because don't go too close. Sean's good. We have a good bit of banter, me and Sean, and Shannon is very chilled. So I always wind Shannon up before a run. So yeah, I know the people that I definitely spend more time with if we're all competing together.
I think it goes to show as well there that however useful a routine can be, sometimes if it's too rigid, that can become a problem, because if it doesn't go exactly as you want it to be, that in itself can stress you out, when the whole point is to make you feel comfortable, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. If it doesn't, if your routine doesn't go right, if you don't get there just in the right time. I like to be at the ring like just a few dogs early. Some people like to be there hours early. I can't stand that. It just makes me wild with stress. I want to get there just literally 5 or 6 dogs to run. We actually had that at the World Champs the year I was in the team with Dan, Nara, and Natasha. Me, Dan, and Nara were warming up our dogs. We went back to the room. We're quite early on, and the teams had started. And all of a sudden, I was like, do you think we should be at the ring? Like, I think they might have started, and we're like team 4 in, and we were all like, fuck, like we ran down that corridor. I mean, I couldn't run. It was so slippy. I picked Fame up and was just like, oh my God, oh my God. We were sprinting to the ring. And we got there, and the whole of GB team were looking at us like, where have you been? Tasha was having kittens. She's like, they'll be here, they'll be here, they'll be
Yeah.
here. But internally, I think she was thinking, oh my God, I've got to run 4 times. So I think that was a really, that was a proper stressful event because but we were just so calm. And then when we medaled that year, we got a bronze medal that year. So I think sometimes just being a bit more like that is better than being overly stressy. Got to be there time. But we were just a bit more relaxed, and it definitely helped. And we had, we got there and had 3 clears.
Yeah.
But
Less
that was
time to actually think about it then, basically, isn't
yeah,
it?
exactly. We got there. We literally had 3 dogs, do a couple of jumps, in you go. Off we went. We hadn't watched any dogs do it really. We were straight in. I think sometimes that is better. I prefer to have an early running order because of that. Because I'm very much. I have a fear of failure, definitely, and I very much don't always have a lot of confidence. So I watch other people and think, "There's no way I can beat that. That's such an amazing run. That dog is so fast. Like it's crazy." The year I got a bronze medal with Fame, an individual, because she ran quite early in the jumping, she had a pretty cool run. It was a really fast course, and I was not expecting her to do well. She came fourth in the jumping run, beating some of the best dogs in the world. And I was like, it upped my confidence so much to believe in her that she could redo that. And then that's when we went in, and then obviously went clear in the agility as well and got a bronze. But I think that because personally in UK we don't compete against these people week in week out in Europe, we don't get to compare.
Yeah.
So they all compete against each other. They know what their times are like compared to the other fast dogs. So I think they have a bit more confidence going in, knowing they can do it. Whereas I think we are a bit like, well, we don't know if their times are good enough because we're not competing against them often enough to really know. So for me, having confidence that they could do it definitely helps. So if I go in thinking, well, there's no point, they can't do it, I sometimes don't even try. I've done that before. I don't try because I don't want to look like I've tried and then failed. I know it's crazy. It is
Yeah,
crazy, but you have to,
self-sabotage almost, isn't it?
I have definitely done that in the past with Boss. 100% I did that, and I sabotaged myself and just completely did. Just some years I just didn't try because I truly believed he couldn't do it, and I've learned not to do that now. But luckily, I've taught myself that just do your best and see what happens. But for a few years, I was definitely in a little bit of a bad state with that and had to get myself out of that rut.
Do you find that watching other people run is helpful, or like because of what you're just saying now? Then, is it helpful for you to watch other people run, or do you feel like it's probably best not to just do your own thing?
I don't like it, so I hate running late, and that's why I go to the toilet all the time because I just don't want to watch. So I just think I feel like I should watch, but I don't want to. I don't want to sit in the back either in case I'm not there in time. It's a real hard one, especially if you do well in the jumping at the World Champs. So yeah, I personally don't. I like to ask people like, are there any areas of the course that people are messing up on? Is it common that they're doing that? And maybe watch a few dogs, but to sit there and watch 100 dogs before I run, I just can't stand it. I just doesn't. Not at the World Champs. I can do it in England because again, I have the confidence that I know
Yeah.
I could beat them in England. Not everyone, but I have the confidence to know I'm going to be up there.
Yeah,
As
you
at
know
Worlds,
where your dog is in comparison to other dogs, isn't there?
exactly. But at the Worlds, I'm very much, or any international event, I'm very much don't like to watch. I like to watch because I want to see the dogs. So I went this year as just to spectate, and oh my God, it was so lovely. No stress. Got to watch everyone. Got to enjoy it. Yeah, that was lovely. But obviously, I really want to get back there this year. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's all coming up soon. I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
do a little show on that at some point as well. So before we finish for today, is there any advice that you would give to people on maybe even managing their nerves, or is there anything that you suggest they look to do or anything like that?
I think definitely what you said about being prepared for the event, but I think people can over prepare as well and just do too much, and then they get there and then almost they become complacent. I've seen people do that before. They're like, oh, we've trained all this, we can do that, and then they don't work it so hard. So yes, train, yes, prepare, but I think it's more getting your skills sorted. So knowing you can do any throttle, knowing you can do any backside, knowing you've got obstacle discrimination, having the skills makes me less stressed. Course running, I think, is great for fitness and to practice trying to get around the whole course, but I definitely do that less than other people do because I feel like every course is so different anyway. What's the point? I'd rather have the best skills and then go out and give it a go, knowing I've got the skills to do it. But then I suppose I've been handling a long time, so I know which decisions to make. So it's just everyone's got to find their own way to deal with it. But people that are trying to go to World Champs and win EOs and Worlds, I think, do well in UK first. Like go to Olympia, go to Crafts, go to those events, get the experience in UK, because if you can get that and you can get through those events, the international ones will be so much easier because you'll have that understanding of the emotions you go through and how to deal with that pressure. So try go for the UK ones, as well as going for the big international ones too, but figure out what works for you. Like, do you need to be alone? Do you need to have banter? It's just agility. That's what I try and think. I get on the start line, think, just get around this course. Forget about everything else. I don't think about anyone else when I'm on the line. All I think about is get round the course. The only thing that's how I taught myself to get out the whole of being too stressed watching other people run, is I'm not competing against them anymore. I'm just competing against the course. Get round it, go clear, try your best, see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. And I agree. I think there is no one thing that works. I think it's about finding what works for you and having a go at a few different things rather than just saying you're going to do something. Actually have a go, try a different thing, see if you find that it works for you. The one thing that I think is really important, and this is just my experience really, and I think sometimes we can go about it and not even realize that it's happening, is when you are, what it's like. You walk in a course, and quite often you'll be walking it, not with someone, but there's all of us walking a course at the same time. And there'll always be people who find the problems in the course, right? And they always focus on those problems, which is fine. There's never going to be a course that's so easy that there are no problems. But my thing is always, on the day of a competition, it's too late to worry about what skills you don't have. And if you focus on the things you can't do, that is going to be negative to your actual performance, because you're always going to be of the mindset, well, I can't do that bit, I can't do that bit. So I would say, if you find that you're walking around with the course, and the person or the people that you're with are constantly pointing out the hard bits or the bits they can't do or the blind they can't make, then you probably need to distance yourself from them almost and just focus on the things that you can do, how you can manage those bits. Because like I said, you can't fix it now. It's about trying to work out something that can help you get through those for now, and then maybe put it in your training plan to kind of fix for the next time. But if you focus on the negatives, if you focus on all the things you can't do, I think that's only going to make you more nervous and work against you for your performance anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and people, like you said, people can definitely bring you down with their stress and make you feel so stressed because of what they're feeling. So I do try and avoid those more negative people, the ones that are almost overthinking it. Just think, let's get around it. Like, I know what I can do, I know what I can't do. If I can't do that particular bit, I need to handle it somehow to get around it. If I can't do it, I can't do it. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. So it just is what it is, and that's where you say the prep comes in.
Yeah, agree. All right, well, thanks again for joining us, Dave. I'm sure we'll be back again next week, but do you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, bye everyone. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, see you later.